There's no time for a proper introduction on this video because I'm genuinely, for the first time in a long time, excited about something that's happening within the game, and this is going to be the balance changes, the patch notes, the bug fixes that are coming at the start of the Arthas event. I don't know exactly when that is still being bottomed out by the Rumble team, but these are the changes, these are some of the balance changes that are going to come into the game when that event goes live, and they are going to change the game as we know it right now. I promise you. Look, let's look at this. I can't even get my words out. So this is a picture of the article, so I can't unfortunately scroll up and down, which is a little bit, so it's going to be a bit clunky, so we're going to have to grab and scroll. So we've got balance changes coming to so many minis, starting out then with the leaders. Sneed getting a buff. The land grab talent now increases Sneed's level by 2. Previously 1. There was a buff just to Sneed only a few weeks or a month or so ago now. So definitely pushing us to be using more leaders and more minis as a whole, rather than feeling like there is basically one meta, which is the case right now. Next up then, we've got Ragnaros. Blast Wave now deals an additional 75 damage in addition to the burn that it already puts on its target. So the burn is not a new feature, but an additional 75 damage on Blast Wave, and they fixed an issue where Blast Wave did not deal damage or apply burn to structures. So Ragnaros, buff for Ragnaros there. Let's see how that works out. Next up then, Maiev increased damage and health by 20%. Now, obviously, anything that's like Unbounds and even some spells to a degree is that when the Ancient of War is in the meta, that essentially that, you know, I've not seen Maiev have any playtime for a long time. It's felt like probably like since Ancient of War came out, so maybe like 6 months since Maiev has been like anywhere. But anyway, the aim of the game here then is to give Maiev a kick up the ass, get Maiev into an improved state and make him a more viable leader. So we'll see how that works out. Empathorasan then, the healing from Moira's wit talent has been increased to 1.5% of maximum health, previously 1%, and the health trigger radius has been increased to 12 from 8, so bigger radius of effect there. And then the burn applied from Lava Spikes, which is this standard core Thorasan leader ability, while using the Incinerate talent, are now permanent, and Thorasan will prefer new targets when attacking to spread that burn even further. So again, a buff for Thorasan used to be absolutely everywhere, especially in PvP. Thorasan was a beast. Doesn't get much of a look in nowadays, and also the Moira's wit talent was absolutely crap. Will an extra 0.5% health of healing make it viable? Not sure, but it does. But all in all of these changes make Thorasan stronger, so that is a buff for him. Grandma Shell Scream then, a health increase, flat health increase by 10%. Nice, that's like an extra level in terms of health. Doomhammer. Doomhammer is getting the nerf hammer, and a lot of you'll be thinking it's about bloody time, because there was some stat or something on a meta page that over the past, I can't remember the timescale, but essentially that Doomhammer was in like 49% of PvP decks or something, which is just mad given how many leaders that we've got and how unviable basically all of them are apart from Doomhammer. So Doomhammer's health is being reduced from 1200 down to 1000. The damage bonus from First Blood, the leader ability, has been reduced to 75%, down from 100%, and there are several issues that have been fixed with Doomhammer's Mak-Garah. So if Doomhammer is polymorphed during the Mak-Garah, the duel will be cancelled. Doomhammer will be able to attempt a new challenge after polymorph has worn off. There was some like weird interaction with polymorphs and getting stuck in a charge and all sorts of stuff going on. It was all a bit weird, not working anyway. Apparently that should be fixed. And then if either Doomhammer or the target too far away from each other, the duel will be cancelled, and then Doomhammer again can attempt to set up a new challenge. So that's going to be good. So Doomhammer on deploy does get like one full go at a Mak-Garah without it being interrupted by either distance or polymorph. So that's a good thing. That's a fix. That's how it should have been all along, I believe. But now that should should work. But the big ones here are going to be the health reduction and the damage reduction from the First Blood ability. So the developer note then is that Doomhammer has been seen to be extremely effective in Season 12 meta. We've received feedback that the games in Season 12 often feel stale and or dominated by the same strategies, and we believe that Orgrim's base health and damage bonus make him the obvious choice for raw power reasons rather than players choosing to play the leaders they find most exciting or fun to play. And I definitely agree with that, is that from a raw power perspective, Doomhammer is an absolute monster and is by far and away stronger than the vast majority, if not all, of the other leaders. So let's have a look then. Is this enough of a nerf to Doomhammer? Do they need to go a little bit further? Let me know down in the comments. And while we're on that, let me know down in the comments about all these changes. What do you think? This also is like a year's worth of balance changes all wrapped up into one delivery. We've been screaming out for balance changes. We've had absolutely none, or, well, very few. But here we are. Here we go. No complaints from me. So Cenarius, the empty health from Grovekeeper, which is the Leaguer ability, so I think that's for Cenarian and Alliance minis, will spawn with 20% health missing, an additional 20% health which is missing, which can be healed up to give them extra health. That is now going to be a 30% of empty health, so that's going to make your Cenarius army stronger, as long as you've got the Alliance and Cenarian minis in there. Chaga getting a buff, health increased from 320 up to 416, and now the Bombard trait has been removed, so Chaga can now hit flying minis with her beam. They don't get rooted, that would look ridiculous, but she can now hit flying minis, and the damage reduction has been removed from the Nature's Grasp talent. So Chaga now will be able to hit ground minis and flying minis. Now that might, in some circumstances, work out to be not what you want. But I think overall the fact that she's not going to get taken out by something like pretty weak like Batlings or something, I think that's going to be a good change. But yeah, let me know, what do you think down in the comments. Next up then, Ren Blackhand, health increased from, to 1380, previously 1200. So decent chunk of health there. In fact, over 10%. What's that, 15%? Looks like 15% if my maths is any good. Anyway, Hogger, a big one for Hogger, because Hogger, especially during like Heroes Resolve, but Hogger just used to be really good in my opinion, especially with the Hamhock talent, granting 10% max health each time it was he was deployed. Now it gives 15% max health each time Hogger is deployed. 2 deployments now will be the equivalent of 3 in old money, so that is huge. And then the Fatal Frenzy talent no longer has a range requirement, so on death, Bloodlust, and grant 1 level to all beasts up to an additional 3 levels. So Hogger getting a pretty significant boost in my opinion. Let me know, what do you think? Cairn, flat increase, damage increase by 10%. Cairn notoriously not used at all really. I'm not sure. I think Cairn might need a little bit more than 10% damage to make him viable, but hey, we'll see. Jaina then, last of the leaders, so the Flurry talent now always deals 50 damage in addition to applying Frost within the AoE, and this excludes the main target and gains the AoE trait. So it excludes the main target so as to not increase single target damage, but will make her more effective in AoE damage. So that's everything for the leaders. So let me know, what do you think of those things? I mean, look, standout Doomhammer getting the nerf hammer dropped on him, but plenty of buffs to the others to try and level out that leader playing field. I hope it works and really shakes up the meta. Right then, troops then. Plague Farmer. Fixed, the Splashing Pumpkin talents have the same cooldown as the non-Splashing Pumpkin version, and now correctly doubles the splash radius. I'll be honest with you, I don't use Plague Farmer ever. I don't really see Plague Farmer ever. Maybe some people use it in the odd PvE bit of campaign. I don't think that Plague Farmer is all of a sudden going to become a regular sight, but I make these predictions and I'm always wrong. So Anyway, Witch Doctor, slight nerf coming for the Witch Doctor. Cursed beam range has been reduced down to 7 from 8, and the radius of the explosion caused by Cursed beam has been reduced to 5 from 6. And the note on this is that Witch Doctor is exceptionally effective mini for only 2 gold, and he's oppressing other strategies that would or could fill that role. And the devs want to find a way to create more space for other minis without fundamentally making the Witch Doctor less fun to play, or I suppose nerfing him into oblivion. So Witch Doctor I'm sure will still be plenty strong, just slightly weaker than he is at the moment. Deep Breath. This is going to change things massively. I do not over-exaggerate that. I don't think... Deep Breath at the moment does 400 damage. We're talking numbers at level 1. But the initial damage has been reduced down to 160. Massive, massive damage. So Deep Breath now also applies a burn for 8 seconds, and it's 30 damage per second, giving an overall burn of 240. Added to the initial damage of 160 means that Deep Breath still does the same amount of damage, still does 400 damage at level 1. It just means that some of that damage is staggered over time. So Deep Breath is now no longer going to immediately clear the map of, you know, multiple minis that are going to get caught up in it and get you all of that value that it used to get in one big swipe. So this is huge. I genuinely believe that this is absolutely huge, and not just because it might mean that we see a little bit less Deep Breath, but it also gives minis that were of 4 gold, so the same as Deep Breath, who got immediately erased because of Deep Breath, that now there is chance for you to maybe drop a Holy Nova or a Cheat Death or whatever it might be to try and keep those minis alive. So remember, when Dryad was introduced into the game, because she was erased by Deep Breath, it meant that from like a competitive standpoint is that Dryad just didn't... It was introduced into the game and just didn't really get much airtime at all. But I think that this change is huge to the way that PvP will be played and the minis that are now viable to be played in PvP. Let me know down below, what do you think about this Deep Breath change? Next up, I'm running out of breath. Next up then, Raptors. Damage increased to 120 from 90, so 33% damage increase for the Raptors. And Raptors with the motivation talent now getting Bloodlust for 10 seconds when coming within range of a chest or gold vein, instead of only gaining Bloodlust whilst they were near a chest or gold vein. So that's going to make Raptors a little bit more viable. Again, no matter which way you look at it, that is a buff for Raptors. Core Hounds also getting a buff. Their damage has been increased to 220 up from 170. Health has been increased as well, up from 1,420 up to 1,600, and a reasonably decent sized change. I mean, we don't really see them in PvP all that much, but anyway, the Fiery Revival talent will now damage and burn nearby enemies upon revival. So more damage, more health, and a better talent. So a buff for the Core Hounds. Molten Giant getting a damage increase. So no longer will the Molten Giant just be this massive unit of a tank that doesn't really do much damage at all. Now having a damage increase from 180 up to 230. The Bolster talent will now heal and grant 1 gold when destroying a tower, and fixed an issue where Bolster would fail to heal the Molten Giant. So Molten Giant, you know, he's going to be decent, I think. I think that Molten Giant could be pretty good. Warsong Grunts then, damage has been increased from 80 up to 95. The Guard Duty talent now also grants armor and costs 1 less gold. So when you deploy the Grunts and they're going to stand by your base tower or by one of your siege towers, they now have the armor trait and they'll be 1 gold cheaper. So that's going to be pretty good. And the command talent will now boost beast damage map wide rather than within a small range. So pretty significant change for the Grunts. Again, I'm not sure about some of these changes, if they're going to, break into PvP, but there's certainly, certainly positive changes and certainly make some of these more viable, in my opinion. Finally, then, the Griffin Rider. The airdrop talent now has a maximum of 10 levels that it can add to a mini. The dev note is essentially saying that this is in line with Thalnos being able to being buffed, and Sneed also go up to 10 levels, and they're looking for consistency across the game. The level cap was basically missed, and it should always have been that, but now they're catching up with some of these things that we've dealt with all along, and now, yeah, for consistency purposes, it will be the same. What this does mean, though, is some of those banter strategies where someone's like a kobold killing an Ixia because it was boosted by to level like 99 or whatever, is that's not going to work anymore. So it's fun while it lasted, very entertaining, but unfortunately, that's not. Those days have been and gone. Finally, then, we've got the Small Troll. So the Trollnado talent will no longer target enemies considered to be underground. This includes minis that are under a bridge. So there was some kind of weird interactions. Anyway, this should just make the game look a bit cleaner. And there's not much more to say about that. Is that's just as it is. That is all of the troops. Let me know. Troop changes. Happy? Sad? I think they're great. Honestly, for me, they are great. There's going to be so many changes. So many more things are going to be viable. Let me know. Now, the reason a minute ago I scrolled down a bit and then kind of scrolled back up is because there is one PvP change which is coming, which has been asked for by so many people. And this is massive. I don't over-exaggerate things. I'm not into getting all excited about things, but this is absolutely massive. And the change that people have been talking about forever and a day is that the Shaman's totem will no longer affect your home barracks, your core, whatever you want to call it. It will not heal that building in PvP. It will still affect towers. So the other towers that you own or that you take control of over the map, you will still heal those, but your core base will no longer be healed by the Earth Wall totem from the Shaman. The dev note is that the totem has become a defining part of the PvP game using cycling decks combined with the change that made matches shorter. Players can maintain full barrack health even against relatively large onslaughts that deal some incidental damage to the barracks. This type of meta creates an environment of longer matches, more overtime kills, and significantly more draws than players expect. We have been watching this talent for a while and have decided that while it is fun to heal your base sometimes, it is not conducive to a fun and competitive PvP environment. And people have been talking about this forever. It is so frustrating to be playing a game and know that you've got Shaman, they've got Shaman, and it's basically going to go to overtime and just who can get that perfect placement of their Shaman down. And because matches were made shorter, and it's meant that you've got less time to damage your opponent's core, and then they've got Shaman, so they're going to heal it up anyway. So actually, when the matches got shorter, that made it more difficult. So we wanted longer matches, but then they wanted to get away from longer matches anyway. It's a huge change. No matter which way you slice it, this is a massive change. What do you think? Is this what you were hoping for? I think it's going to land pretty positively. I think a lot of people have been looking forward to some sort of change, and we're finally getting it. There are going to be future balance changes. There are some, I think, that are in the works. We haven't been really given any details of what that might be. I think there's some that the dev team I think there are some that the dev team are working on that haven't made it for this round of balance changing. In fairness, there's so many balance changes in this one that it might well be sensible to leave it for, a couple of weeks, couple of months or something, and just to see how the meta settles and what rises to the top and what's still rubbish. So as I said at the start, this goes live when the Arthas event goes live. When does the Arthas event go live? Don't know. None of us know. It hasn't been announced yet. Anyway, that is that. I've stayed up. I was about to go to bed, but I've got to get this video out because, like I say, for the first time in a long time, I'm genuinely had some positive, good news to bring to you about the game. That is my opinion on it. I think this is great news. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.